Michael Jackson was more than a superstar. He was a cultural phenomenon whose music, influence, and larger-than-life presence transformed entertainment forever. Yet despite decades in the spotlight, countless mysteries continued following him long after his passing. Questions lingered. Rumors refused to disappear. And while the public endlessly debated his legacy, one voice remained noticeably absent from the conversation. Few expected Katherine Jackson to break her silence. As the world argued over headlines, allegations, and unanswered questions, Michael's mother stayed largely out of the spotlight, grieving privately while protecting her family's pain from public view.
Her son's life.
So Michael looked back at those times and they said he was abused. Well, they call it abuse, but sometime if it wasn't for the strap, what would this world be like?
Then, after years of silence, Katherine Jackson finally began speaking more openly. What emerged was not a simple story of fame and success, but a deeply emotional account of sacrifice, heartbreak, family conflict, and a legacy that continues to spark debate. It took decades of triumph, tragedy, and controversy to bring the story back to where it all began: Michael Jackson and the family the birth of a legend. Long before sold-out stadiums, record-breaking albums, and worldwide fame, Michael Jackson was simply one of 9 children growing up in a modest home in Gary, Indiana. During the late 1950s and early 1960s, the Jackson family lived in a small 2-bedroom house where money was limited and every dollar mattered. Katherine Jackson worked tirelessly to help provide for her children, while Joe Jackson balanced long factory shifts with dreams of building something greater through music. Life inside the home was disciplined, crowded, and deeply rooted in faith. Katherine believed religion would help protect her children from the dangers surrounding their neighborhood. Yet while daily life revolved around school, church, and responsibilities, something extraordinary was quietly emerging, and even at a young age, Michael stood out. Family members would later remember him constantly singing, copying famous performers, and demanding attention whenever music filled the room. What began as harmless entertainment gradually revealed itself as something far more significant. Both Katherine and Joe recognized the talent almost immediately. But while Joe saw opportunity, Katherine often worried about what pursuing stardom might eventually cost. Neither parent could have imagined that the quiet little boy sharing a bedroom with his siblings would one day become one of the most recognizable people on the planet. Yet Joe Jackson was already developing a plan that would change everything. Here is an image that has generated considerable discussion among fans online. It combines 2 separate photographs, one showing Michael Jackson receiving medical attention and the other featuring a portrait of Katherine Jackson. A dramatic caption suggests that a hidden message has finally surfaced years after Michael's death. However, the image itself offers no evidence supporting that implication and provides no context explaining what is supposedly being revealed. As a result, viewers are left wondering whether the image is referencing a real event or simply attempting to create intrigue. What do you think it is trying to imply? Share your thoughts in the comments. Joe's discipline. The Jackson family created music history, but the methods used to achieve that success remain one of the most debated aspects of their story. Inside the Jackson household, talent alone was never considered enough. Joe Jackson demanded perfection. Rehearsals were intense, mistakes were not tolerated, and expectations remained extremely high. Long practice sessions became a regular part of life as Joe pushed his children toward excellence. Years later, different family members would recall those experiences in very different ways. Some described punishments involving fear, criticism, and physical discipline whenever standards were not met. Katherine often found herself trying to maintain peace while supporting a dream she hoped would lift the family out of poverty. During a 1993 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Michael spoke candidly about painful memories from childhood. He described harsh discipline and emotional wounds that continued affecting him long into adulthood. Other family members acknowledged strict punishment, but argued that those methods kept them focused and away from negative influences. Joe Jackson himself defended his approach during a 2010 interview with Oprah, insisting that his discipline protected his children from gangs and dangerous environments. He expressed little regret about the decisions he made as a father. The debate over whether Joe's methods created greatness or caused lasting damage remains unresolved even today. Grace Before Dusk. One of the most anticipated comebacks in entertainment history ended less than a day after it appeared ready to begin. On June 24, 2009, the Staples Center in Los Angeles was filled with excitement as Michael Jackson rehearsed for his upcoming This Is It residency. Witnesses described a performer who appeared energized, focused, and fully committed to returning to the stage. Cameras captured him executing choreography, delivering vocals, and preparing for what many believed would be one of the biggest comeback events ever attempted. Production crews left that night optimistic and impressed by what they had seen. Everything suggested Michael was ready. Less than 12 hours later, everything changed. Emergency sirens raced toward Michael's rented residence in Holmby Hills. Medical personnel arrived to find a crisis unfolding behind closed doors. The situation quickly escalated into a desperate effort to save his life. Soon, crowds gathered outside the hospital while news organizations scrambled for information. Then came the announcement that shocked the world. Michael Jackson was gone. In a single afternoon, one of the most anticipated returns in music history transformed into one of the most heartbreaking moments in modern entertainment. The fatal phone call. Katherine Jackson's world changed forever with one conversation. Earlier that day, she had been engaged in religious ministry work when Joe Jackson called with alarming news. An ambulance, he told her, had rushed away from Michael's home. Emergency responders were reportedly performing CPR. Panic immediately set in. Soon afterward, she was told to come to the hospital. During the drive, family members tried offering reassurance while Katherine prayed continuously. Deep down, however, she feared the worst. By the time she arrived, doctors confirmed the news no parent ever wants to hear. Her son had died. The moment shattered not only a mother, but the fortress of family. In the aftermath of Michael's death, Katherine stepped into one of the most difficult roles of her life. As media attention intensified, she focused on protecting Prince, Paris, and Blanket from the chaos surrounding them. Courts eventually granted her guardianship responsibilities, providing stability during a period of enormous uncertainty. The children remained surrounded by family support while legal questions regarding custody, visitation, and estate matters unfolded. The family eventually settled into a quieter environment focused on healing and preserving Michael's legacy. Katherine's priorities became clear: protect the children, maintain stability, and honor her son's wishes. The Bashir controversy. In 2003, journalist Martin Bashir released Living with Michael Jackson, a documentary that would dramatically affect public perception of the singer. After receiving extensive access to Michael's private life, Bashir produced a film that generated enormous controversy. One particular sequence involving Michael and young cancer patient Gavin Arvizo triggered intense criticism and eventually contributed to legal scrutiny. Feeling betrayed by the final presentation, Michael responded by releasing additional footage intended to provide greater context. Critics argued the documentary painted a damaging picture, while supporters claimed Bashir selectively edited material to create controversy. Regardless of perspective, the documentary had a profound impact on Michael's public image and intensified scrutiny that followed him for years afterward. The FBI files. When federal records connected to Michael Jackson were eventually released, many people expected shocking revelations. Instead, the documents largely painted a picture of a celebrity constantly navigating threats, investigations, extortion attempts, and security concerns associated with extreme fame. The records confirmed federal involvement in certain investigations, but also clarified limitations regarding evidence and jurisdiction. Attention eventually shifted toward the circumstances surrounding Michael's death and the medical decisions that led to it. Investigators focused heavily on the administration of propofol, a powerful anesthetic generally intended for closely monitored medical settings. Experts criticized the conditions under which it was used, describing the situation as a catastrophic failure of medical judgment. The financial crisis. Behind the scenes, Michael's death triggered not only emotional devastation, but also a major financial emergency. Reports indicated that substantial debt obligations, loans, and financial commitments surrounded parts of his business empire. Lenders closely monitored valuable assets, including music holdings and intellectual property. Questions quickly emerged regarding who would manage the estate and how those assets would be protected. The answers depended heavily on legal documents, estate planning decisions, and the individuals entrusted with overseeing Michael's affairs. What followed became one of the most closely watched estate management stories in entertainment history. And through it all stood Katherine Jackson. As legal disputes, business negotiations, family disagreements, and public controversies unfolded, she remained at the center of the story. Her journey became a reminder that behind every global icon is a family forced to navigate both extraordinary success and unimaginable loss. Michael Jackson's legacy continues generating discussion around the world, but for Katherine, the story was never about headlines or financial deals. It was about a son she loved, a family she fought to protect, and a legacy she believed deserved to endure for generations.